Greetings and salutations, all you beautiful individuals. It is another episode of League Online. Eric and Mark here with you fine feathered individuals as we look ahead. It's finally time. We are so back. It's not the LTA, it's the LCS. The final of the major regions. Yes, we're still deeming it a major region title. Only because it's the LCS, not the LTA. Kicking off this weekend, so we're going to do a full preview of what's to come from there and, the teaser video and everything about it. They're trying to capture nostalgia, and I think that's the right approach with LCS, from the alt-rock early 2000s song to use to having murals all around LA of former LCS players. It feels like good vibes with this teaser.
I loved the teaser, man. I thought the energy was there. I think the vibe exactly was what it needed to be for the return of the LCS, given some of those old school, early, mid 2010 type of vibes going on in the LCS. Happy to have those return. And I think that it is going to be one of those things where you have this type of introduction, and certainly some of the hype, that they're trying to put to some of these players is going to lead well into the season.
And first and foremost, we got to say, okay, what's new other than the name? And of course, format is first and foremost. Commissioner Mark Z did this a couple weeks ago to talk about, but a little refresher. We're getting the lock-in, and this is a Swiss stage format, but fret not, it is best of three, no best of ones. So it's similar to what you're getting at the World Championship. Obviously, it's just, catered down to only 8 teams being in the league, but 3-0 squad will pick their matchup for the winners bracket. The 0-3 squad will be eliminated, but 50% more games in this format than what we got out of Split 1 last year.
That is a huge and necessary improvement for the LCS, and frankly, for any major region at this point outside of the LPL and the LCK. Really looking, of course, LEC and the LCS. Maybe the LCP a little bit, but I think they obviously do quite still rack up some of the games, but absolutely important. Vital, given what we have seen last year in the comparisons to the amount of games the series played, the preparation overall throughout a year in comparison to those regions. So yes, a very important first step to add those to the schedule, and happy to see that one coming through. I will mention, I think last year we did, of course, have a lot of good communication from our commissioner, Mark Z, and certainly towards the beginning of the year, I think as everything soured and everything was so wrong with the LTA towards the end of the year, and that was only going to be the feedback, we stopped getting that type of conversation and feedback. So I'm hoping that continues and extends this year throughout the entirety of it.
And the other wrinkle that I think is a positive, and there were lots of positive changes last year that people thought about the format, even though it ended up not working out. But this whole America's Cup thing, which, listen, the formats for the 3 splits are a lot easier to follow, but now we're getting the second and third place teams from the lock-in tournament in the CBLOL and the LCS are going to get a Riot-funded boot camp in Korea around MSI, which is really an investment into their region that Riot is getting. Seems a little unfair that other regions maybe don't get it, but they know that North America needs the most help.
No child left behind situation. Come on, we gotta get the last place LCS up in here into this situation. I think it's fantastic. I'm very much a fan of this one. I think this is something that involves an angle that we thought was missing or underutilized within the merging and birth of the LTA. To have that type of interaction between the two, regions, conferences, whatever you want to call them, type of thing at this point, getting that interaction and having additional chances for these teams that aren't going to be that first stand representative, I think is a very big add for the region.
They just need to make sure that some of these Korean and Chinese teams will actually want to scrim them during this boot camp if they're the second or third seeds from the CBLOL and the LCS. But now we get into the actual good stuff for 2026, and this is one of the more difficult seasons to predict, I think, because there were so many changes in the offseason. There's no real clear-cut top dog, at least heading into this year, but I think there will be a top dog when we hit the Rift, and maybe it's boring to say Team Liquid is going to steamroll their way through to first stand, but I just feel like the vibes are going to be completely different from the squad. The team atmosphere that Morgan and Jose Dioto are going to bring are going to be so different than the down times that we got with Team Liquid last year, and the dual carry threat of Quid and Jan, that's enough to be top of the league and running through the entire split.
Well, the stats would tell you that is absolutely the equation necessary to become the top team within the region, because you've added Jan, who has been the best ADC, and now you've added Quid, who has been the most impressive and important mid laner in the region. So it's absolutely one of the ones you can look at is the angle of Team Liquid. I think that is, of course, the safe and more predictable type of one. I'm going to go a little bit left field. I'm going to take Cloud9 in this type of situation. I'm banking on some improvements, some time between where we last checked in with them during the Caspa Cup. I'm hoping for some more of those improvements with APA, feeling more comfortable and integrated within this lineup.
You're a true APA believer. It was a roller coaster even just within Kespa, him having great moments, and then the Mel game, which we are banned from showing highlights from, because that's just how that game played out. But yeah, they'll definitely need a level up from him if they want to be competing at that very tippity top of the table. But there's multiple teams, I feel like 4, even if you're generous, 5, that you could make some type of argument for winning the split, which feels different than maybe ever in the LCS.
It's crazy because absolutely you can list off a handful of teams that you are expecting to be in that contention. Nobody, head and shoulders above the other type of situation as far as this one. Should be a wide open race here. Absolutely going to be one that we'll have to see take shape. Going to be exciting for that. And I think one of the things that you do need to mention when you're talking about Team Liquid and talking about, anything taking shape here in the LCS, visa issues is something that is going to be one of those topics that could have been worse to start out this season, but seemingly is taking a little bit more of a better shape. I will say recently we did see Morgan is on his way to the LCS, so he will be here, and absolutely very excited for that. And that does help your Team Liquid prediction to come through, knowing that Morgan's going to be there starting right away.
Talking visa issues and other things, DeMonte was saying like 6 out of the 8 teams were potentially dealing with visa issues. It does sound like Zynie is now in North America, but they were scrimming with Insanity for a month during the preseason before Zynie could get over, but it sounds like he is there, and that really helps what's going to be my surprise of this split. Team Liquid's winning it, but I got them playing the Shopify Rebellion in the finals. I think Zynie can come in and absolutely have a massive impact. We talked about this being maybe the biggest single on-paper upgrade in the entire league, and I think this is a team that has and will continue to be criminally underrated.
Ooh, I love to hear that one coming through. I think that one would be one of the exciting angles in the LCS. I'm going to go a little bit different. I'm going to take the angle of the Sentinels are going to find a way to make playoffs. They will be a playoff caliber.
It's a low bar for them.
Maybe that's not saying too much for the LCS, but absolutely given what the expectations are and kind of general vibes heading into this year in the community, I think, about what the Sentinels roster is, I'm going to go on the edge and say they're going to have some of that early swagger, some early mojo, and get themselves in a position to be a representative at least in the LCS playoffs.
There does often seem to be some kind of fresh buff for a new organization on the block. I'm curious to see, Sentinels in other esports, Valorant especially, everybody knows like they're well run and things seem to be like they're a top tier organization. So excited to see if and how that translates over to the League of Legends ecosystem. The bad side of a surprise for me, and you can call me a hater if you want, I'm not sure the Lyon gaming experiment is going to work out as well as people are saying. The clash of personalities, I know now Dokla is in there over Zamudo and can maybe be the light to sometimes the dark that is inspired in terms of team environment and ambiance, but I'm not sure these personalities are going to click, at least in Split 1, and if FlyQuest dominated the way they did for 80% of the year and things still bottomed out, if things aren't going well, not so sure.
That's a scary position to be in when you're talking about how things could all of a sudden crash and burn for Lyon Gaming. But yes, That is the risk that you're taking when you do look at this lineup, and especially when you do start that lineup talking about Inspired and his MVP quality of play that can come through in the jungle, and the attitude and perspective on the game and players. That absolutely is a part of that package, part of the baggage that will come through, and interesting to see how that is going to interact and develop within this team and season for Lyon Gaming. I think that one of the angles that we're not paying enough attention to when we're talking about this next year and kind of a bad surprise that could come through is what if we're looking at an LCS where we don't have a FlyQuest being part of the equation at the top tier? I think that is absolutely my bad surprise. I'm going with, I think it's going to take a little bit extra time for this FlyQuest team to figure things out. There's going to be some growing pains, and specifically Griffin, someone I want to be super excited about in that jungle position. The only thing stopping me and I'm concerned about, maybe some bad luck demons getting featured in that teaser hype video so much. People are talking maybe it should have been Masu in that situation. I think, yeah, that extra little bit of fire, a little bit of typing and attention that's going to be there from being in that type of video could be something that's going to take a little bit of extra time to get used to.
I mean, you can draw the comparisons to when Sniper was coming in, and it was already deemed basically this guy's the next face of the league, next face of the LCS before he'd hardly even played any games, and it feels like it's a similar thing with Griffin, but he's so damn likable coming in. So I hope you're wrong, just so that we can be hyped about FlyQuest, but at least versus Lyon Gaming, I feel like there's more runway for FlyQuest to sort of sort things out and maybe split 2 or 3. You're talking about them ramping up. I'm not sure Lyon Gaming has that same level of luxury. The actual Week 1 matchups far and away highlighted by Cloud9 versus Team Liquid. The two squads that were probably scrimming each other a bunch when they were at the Kespa Cup, but that is the headliner. They got it right. It's the first one to kick off the weekend.
Yeah, and this is the matchup that I think, again, on paper, on whatever type of prediction scale you want to throw it, I think these are the two, if not 2 of the 3 or 4, whatever equation that is at the top of your expected predictions of the LCS, having both of these squads there. And again, the connection between the two as far as APA and looking at Quid in the mid lane, yes, that is going to be one of the most exciting parts about it. And thankfully, you nailed it right on the head. Week 1, day 1, getting that action going for the LCS.
And I forgot they actually did a draft for these orders, so they were blessed by the universe. I think it was nobody wanted to pick Cloud9 or TL, so they were the 2 last teams that ended up matching up against each other. But yeah, APA immediately going up against his former squad in Team Liquid, and then we also got Lyon versus DSG to close things out. That's where the disaster could start. If Lyon Gaming drops their initial series against DSG, full uh-oh.
Yeah, you got to be careful about that one. That's that first slip of the foot type of thing on the rock climbing wall at that point when you're talking about the year. It's going to be a very early tester, very early indication on how things can go for this Lyon Gaming experiment. Very, very happy that this is the schedule and the lineup that we're going to have to start out this LCS. The LCS is back and all these type of things. It's an exciting time for North American esports.
The LCK never left, and in fact, it's still going. We had some nice matchups on the day, starting with a little Gen.G versus BNK FearX, a pair of 2-0 squads matching up, and at least in game 1, we did not disappoint. This was a messy, spicy game. We're talking double Jarvan the Fourth flag steals out of Canyon on a Dragon and a Baron to kind of keep things on, and we saw the full-fledged double-edged sword of Vikla solo killing. Yes, Vikla solo killing Chovy in the Akali Azir matchup, and then ultimately being the one who gets caught out to cost BNK the game.
It's something where I don't want to read too much from this series, again, so early in the year in the LCK and what it is, but absolutely one of these series that does make you excited about the potential that you could see towards the end of the year, knowing that if BNK can keep this up, you've got pieces here. You've got the makings of being the team that can rise to the level that is that Gen.G. And whether that's about Gen.G, still figuring some things out, shaking off a little bit of rust, which, frankly, they haven't looked all that rusty to start out the year. very much so happy to see BNK being in contention in this first game. Ultimately, though, you see the difference between being one of these teams that is a rising option within the LCK and what has already risen to the very top of the LCK at the end of the day. Yes, you're getting a little bit of that good with the bad with Vikla, and you're getting some of this, the action that we wanted to see in this head-to-head of Diable and Ruler in the bottom lane. But it's never enough overall for BNK where you're stepping away with these advantages and able to put it together really enough to get to the nexus of Gen.G in this situation.
Yeah, it just always feels like there's so many points of power to keep track of for Gen.G, and when you feel like, okay, Chovy got solo killed, right to Diablo's having this flash forward 2v2, you're handling everything for Gen.G, and then there's always one more. Oh yeah, Keen is fed. Keen is having a great game on the top side. Canyon is stealing things with the Jarvan flag. So there's just so much to keep track of for Gen.G, and it really felt like that solo kill activated Chovy, because game 2, he was angry. He got a 3-level lead over Vikla, and at one point had an individual gold lead of over 4,000.
A little bit more what you were expecting to see in this type of matchup from your boy Chovy. I think the other thing to mention with this one, with Gen.G, and certainly again where we're seeing them shaking off rust, whatever. Canyon certainly is someone that needed to shake off some rust from last year, and he has certainly been very on point to start out this year, and was so in this series against BNK.
And obviously, anytime BNK plays, got to check in on Diablo in the bot lane. He did have, again, that great. He was still like 9-2 in a loss at one point on the Yunara, and he was trying his best on Ezreal in game 2. Even in a 0-2, there's multiple plays you can highlight this guy as a standout performer.
Again, you can, and this is going to be one of the best compliment you can give. The guy on the other side is probably the only better Ezreal in the LCK right now, is what I've seen from when he gets his hands on this champion. It's so clear the comfort level is there for him. One of the best picks to get to watch in the LCK right now is getting to see that so early.
And just getting to watch Diablo play at all. As you can see, everyone on the team knows what kind of a star talent they have, and that's why there's so many comps being built around this guy. We also had Hanwha Life. It was two ends. We had a couple of 2-0 squads, and then a couple of surprise 0-2 for Hanwha Life. Not so surprised that the Bros were 0-2, but this was anything but a clean series. Messy Barons across the board, especially in game 1, and especially these first couple games, and really the whole series. Gumayushi did not have a good day.
No, it was not the best from Guma, but I think overall it is a very clear indication of where you are with Hanwha Life to start out this year. And that is a team that has incredible raw skill. Of course, when you go and you list off the name of the players and you look at the plays that they can make, the accomplishments, that's an easy equation to understand. But the problem right now is understanding that there has obviously been a drastic shift in how things go during a game. The planning, the preparation, the execution during it, all of these things, the strategy. It has all gone out the window, apparently, with Peanut leaving the team and having Kanavi in his place. And that's not about Kanavi not being good enough or no one stepping up to facilitate these type of things. It's just how impactful I think we underestimated Peanut was for this lineup and his veteran presence and what he brought to the team and to where they are now and what you have to do to bridge those gaps in these games. And you think that's going to be one of the learning points or the struggle points that we're going to see this Hanwha Life team grow through or figure out, and hopefully, I think for their sake, rather sooner than later, but it's going to be a clear thing, and especially it was very clear in this series, despite a better effort than we've seen all year from the Bros.
And case in point, this series, they would get some gold leads, even rack up 4 or 5K, and we're used to last year, the game's over 5 minutes after that for Hanwha Life, but Bro crept back into even a couple of the games that they lost and really made Hanwha work for it. And truthfully, if Zeka and Zeus weren't locked in today, because they kind of hard carry these couple of wins for Hanwha Life, we might have been talking about a disaster 0-3 start for them.
Important to say, yes, bounce back, good day for Zeka in the mid lane was one of the things that we were looking for after the 0-2 start for Hanwha Life. So important to mention that one with it. But I think one of the angles, again, it's this underappreciation for what was going on with Hanwha Life in the past years and their rise to success in the LCK. You know, yes, last year you bring in Zeus, but you're bringing in Zeus to an already established team with Peanut and what was already going on and how you handled things. Now he's not there, and you've brought in Gumayushi, and now you've got kind of, it seems like the contrasting things going on. You've got what was there, established Hanwha Life. You've got a little bit of Guma and Zeus's T1 heritage and all these things. Now it's that mixed bag, and you throw in Kanavi on top of it in that crucial jungle position. I think it's going to take some time. The raw skill is absolutely there, and that's a factor that will be enough to be a difference maker in most of these series. But when you're looking at the top end of the LCK, it's going to require a lot more.
And I think that this is partially why you and I both were like, Hanwha Life, they're going to go to Worlds. They're going to be a top-tier team. But it might take half the year for them to sort things out. When you have 5 fully established veterans on a roster and, especially Kanavi and Guma coming from whatever part they filled in their previous teams, you almost have to relearn. You're completely changing these habits that you've built up on other rosters, and maybe you fit in differently, or there's a different style you have to play within the new squad. And the first step is just figuring out what that even is before you have to go and implement it.
In traditional sports happens all over the place in one of these situations where, again, such a drastic change like that doesn't matter. Even the most established legendary players and careers have to figure out, okay, well, where do I fit in this piece for this team, and how does that make me a more valuable addition for them, and how does that make the team a more valuable situation as well?
Happened to Faker. When all the young guns came in, he had to refigure out where he fit in.
And I mean, part of that, let's be honest, was him individually, and part of that was T1 as an organization. So there's a lot of moving parts.
We're not hitting the panic button till at least split 2 if things continue to not go well for Hanwha Life. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, absolute stunners. Thanks for hanging out, and we will catch you on that flip.